the Macedonians, it's not destroyed by an external. It just implodes. It's going to come back together again. When you read about the 10 horns in Revelation, and you read about the 10 horns here in Daniel 7, we see that as it being a confederation of nations, meaning they will be a nation that comes together in union. All right? So you got the European Union, right? People think it's going to be the European Union. I'm simply saying that the influence of Rome is going to return, and it's going to be under this federation of nations that come together, and the Antichrist is going to grow to prominence out of that. You call him up, you ask him. Sisters ask me, why go through all of that? Because God has a plan. This is God's roadmap. I mean, why put a tree in the middle of the garden, tell them don't eat it, and then they eat it knowing they're going to eat it? He had a plan before the foundation of the world. I'm willing to accept his word as true and to lean into it without answering a lot of questions. I mean, some things are cause and effect that we can understand, but in terms of why God chose this route, I don't know. But this is how he's chosen to glorify himself, to defeat Satan, to bring all of that into subjection to his eternal rule. So now when you go back and look at verse 18 through 21, when he says, I saw the four horns, and those four horns, which are the horns that scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem, they are the ones who sent to captivity, came into dominance, and spread out God's people all over the globe, exploited them, etc., etc. And God says that he is going to bring about the destruction of each one of those nations in judgment for what they did to his people. But see how it's still a smaller part of the bigger picture? And the times of the Gentiles, which is what these are. When you read times of the Gentiles, you read it in here, then you read it in Revelation. The times of the Gentiles is the time of their dominating presence on the earth, particularly over Judah, which again is in Revelation. This common language is not a coincidence. And God is going to punish how people have abused his people Israel. Each and every one of them as a nation, as well as individuals. So, and that's just vision number 2, y'all. We got 6 more to go. So, as we draw to a close, and this is the reason why I started with what I started with, so when I get to the end, you can say, saints, God is in control. There is no power, there is no domination on earth that exists that God not only doesn't know about, but that he, in fact, did not allow and place for the purpose of his plan. You know, something didn't happen and God said, I'll use it as my plan. No, that was God's plan. How could God allow that? Because God has a plan. God has a direction. God has a will that he is exerting. And we need to be thinking not on God's level, but we need to be thinking about what God has revealed to us so we can stay in our faithful, obedient, assured, and equipped place. Those of you that have never been in the military don't know what a state of readiness is. A state of readiness. A state of readiness is when the commanders and the generals have either been given or have developed a plan to wage a particular campaign against an enemy, whether defensive or offensive, okay? They have written the plan, they have presented the plan, and at some point the plan has been approved. And once the plan is approved, the state of readiness is that they now call up every single group of active service personnel who have been assigned specific duties as a part of their training. And they have basically said, grab up all your gear, grab up all your resources, get together with your group, whether it's a team, whether it's a battalion, a division, a squad, report to your commander, who is then going to take you to the next level commander, and then we're going to either sit you over here and have you wait, or we're going to put you on a plane, and we're going to put you on a ship, and we're going to float you over here, and you're going to wait, and you might be there 6 days, you might be there 6 months, you might be there 6 minutes. Your job is, as soon as you hear the commander say deploy, they're going to give you your orders and ship you out. They're going to give you your objectives and ship you out, and your job is going to do what you've been trained to do under the leadership of your generals and your commanders. Christians, God has equipped us. He has provided us what we need. He has put us together. He has said, y'all need to be in a state of readiness. We need to be in a state of readiness in terms of being Christ-like, in terms of sharing the gospel, in terms of discerning the time so that we can warn others and be ready to be used by him in whatever time when he says ready to go, because when it hit, it's going to hit. That's good. And you're not going to know the precise hit moment until it happens. And we can't be ready wrapped up in worldly thinking, worldly distraction. Yes, we have to live in the shadow of its occurrence because it affects us, but we're supposed to stay in a mental, spiritual state of readiness to do what God has called us to do. That's where I'm going to end it tonight. So, God bless you. God keep you. And something for you to pray about and think about. Look, there's so much more to this. We're only looking from the perspective of Zechariah, but I just thought that it would be unfair to not bring these corollaries in so that you could realize how this goes so farther than what Zechariah, and I shouldn't what he's talking about, but what Scripture says that is not written in this little book, but, okay?